To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las
This here's
puertas.
a wild ride in the woods.
When invisibility doors change.
Hey everybody, I wanted to jump in here before we start this week's episode and let you know of a little trip we're going on. We're headed to Walt Disney's hometown, that's Marceline, Missouri. We're going to be heading down there April 29th, 30th, and May 1st. We're going to check out the Walt Disney Hometown Museum. We're going to check out the farm he used to live on, and we're going to check out some great historical sites all along that's inspired Disneyland. So join us on Facebook that weekend, and we will be going live. We'll also be creating some podcast content and some vlog content on our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and also subscribe to our Facebook page so that you know when we're going live and you can join us that weekend for a great time in Marceline, Missouri. We can't wait to do it, and we can't wait to have you along with us.
So today on Miles from Main Street, we have Amanda and Jared from the Three Mouseketeers on the show. Hey, Amanda and Jared, how are we doing?
Hi, Mikhailo and Brian. Thank you for having us. I'm doing fine.
Hi, guys. I'm Jared. Obviously, this is my voice to those who don't know it just yet. Get to know it.
Yeah, we were actually on your show a little while ago. It was really fun to be on that show, and now we're here together, and I believe we want to talk about travel agent stuff.
Yes, anything travel. I'm here to help. So any questions, just throw them at me.
So Amanda, you're a travel agent.
I am a travel agent.
How long have you been doing that?
Actually almost 3 years now. Seems like, so kind of crazy. Started right before the pandemic. Perfect timing.
So what do you, I guess not you, Jared, but you, Amanda, what in your practice, what are you offering?
So actually, I am a travel agent for pretty much anything. I do specialize in Disney vacations. So it could be Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise, Adventures by Disney, or Alani. I do all of those and specialize in that. I've also been to Hong Kong Disneyland and Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea. So I have knowledge in those as well. So if you are interested in those, then you're obviously welcome to ask me about those as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I will definitely do that because I'm very interested in Tokyo Disney Sea. Definitely on the bucket list of things to go see when it comes to Disney.
Yeah.
But I guess for me, I've never used a Disney travel agent just because of my knowledge of Disney and the things that I know I can do. But what are some of the things that you bring to the table for people when they end up booking with you?
I think one of the biggest benefits of working with a travel agent is saving you time. I can tell from my personal experience, like 2 weeks ago, I needed to get my son his AP because he just turned 3. And I spent 8 hours on the phone the first day I called, trying to get it taken care of. Someone was finally helping me, and about halfway through the experience, the phone call, it dropped, and she never called me back. I was like, are you kidding me? So then I had to call back the next day, and I sat on the phone the next day for 5 hours trying to get it. So 13 hours sitting on the phone, waiting for Disney to help me. And if you are my customer, then I'm going to be sitting on the phone doing that for you. And that saves you so much time. Now, obviously, not everybody has to make a call to Disney, but if you do you really want to have to sit on the phone with them? Or do you want somebody to take care of it for you?
I find any way I can to avoid making that phone call now because
right? It's so painful.
I think they have like 2 people working the phone lines. It's just awful.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I do want to jump in here real quick and say that Amanda is my personal travel agent. She pretty much books everything for me whenever I go to Disney, and I know quite a lot too, but she obviously knows a little bit more, and she does everything. She plans everything. So even if you have the knowledge of Disney, you can still use a travel agent.
And that's kind of the beauty to me of using a travel agent. So a lot of people I see say, oh, I like having control of my reservation. I don't want anybody else touching it or whatever. The thing about using a travel agent is you don't have to give over everything to them. So if you wanted to make your own dining reservations, you can make your own dining reservations. But if you use a travel agent, you could tag team trying to get your dining reservations. So you're working on some, I'm working on some, and we're both trying to come to the same thing, you know, to get you what you want, but you just have an extra pair of hands trying to help. So to me, it's a win-win.
So I can do whatever I want as far as putting it together, but when it comes time to have to call them, I can say, hey, Amanda, make this phone call for me.
In a way, yeah. As long as I hold the reservation. So if I actually book it for you,
Sure.
Then yes. Then I'll call anything. So they won't, that's one, I guess, downfall. If you wanted to call them, you couldn't if I have the reservation. I have to call. But I don't know why you would want to call. Just
Yeah, it seems like he doesn't want to call.
Yeah. Why would you really want to sit on the phone for 13 hours if you don't have to?
Well, and the way my job works, like I can leave my phone on speakerphone all day if I need to, but who wants to do that anyway? You know?
And if you can't do that, when do you have time to call them and sit on the phone all day long waiting for them to answer you? And then if something happens, I mean, and you can't go, and now you have to cancel your reservation. Do you want to have to sit on the phone to cancel your reservation or switch it to another time? Or it's just so much easier to have somebody to do it for you. And my services, there are travel agents who charge, but my services are free. I don't charge you for any of that stuff. What you were going to pay to Disney is what you'd pay the same thing to go with me, but you have somebody else to help you.
And I always think about that when I book something is like, why not find someone that could use the commission instead of giving it to Disney? You know, because somebody like you, Amanda, you're just sitting in your office trying to make ends meet with this, right? And Disney obviously is doing fine.
To some extent. Let's kind of pull that back a little bit. They're struggling just as much.
Yeah.
Chapek really needs a paycheck.
Oh.
Well, they'll just increase Genie Plus a little bit more. So.
Probably.
It's a couple dollars. What's a couple dollars?
Exactly. It's 17 instead of 15. It's fine.
Nothing. It's nothing.
People will pay it.
People
They'll
will
pay
pay
just
it.
about anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
That they will. Yeah.
Anyways, so you did mention, and this is just me not knowing how this works, and so I'm sure there's other people who don't know how it works, but you said that you hold the reservations. Does that mean that you have an account that is just for your business, like for your travel agent business? So all of those reservations and plans and everything get made by you in that account? Is that how that works?
In a way, yes. The main reservations, yes. Now, dining is different. So if I'm doing your dining reservations, I'm logging into your My Disney Experience account and making your dining reservations. I'll make your other magical extras reservations. So lightsabers, droids, capture your moment, all those type of things I can do. And I do take care of. If you tell me you want them, obviously. I mean, I am not a mind reader, although I wish I were, but I can't do that.
So yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I know. I have friends that I tell them all the time, just like give me your account information, and I'll go in and make some reservations that you should probably go and have fun at. But yeah, I do that same thing. But yeah, just kind of knowing how all of that works. I'm just I've never used travel agency, so very new to that.
Yeah. And like you said, for your friends who don't know and haven't been to Disney before, I think hiring a Disney, or sorry, we can't call ourselves Disney travel agents. We specialize in Disney. So hiring someone who specializes in Disney is a great idea because they have special, all of their knowledge they're giving to you. So I go to the parks every year, at least once. And last year I went 3 times, I think. So going that often, I have used Genie Plus. I've eaten at a lot of the restaurants. I have tips and tricks I can give you along the way. So especially for people who have never been, it's a really great time to use a travel agent just because they're passing along stuff that they've gained over the years that you don't have to spend hours researching. It's just given to you.
She gives really good tips, by the way. We have a segment on our show where she just gives a tip for the week, and it's usually pretty helpful.
Just don't listen to Jared's tips. He likes people to bring caution tape and, block off a spot for the parade. Don't do that. Bad idea.
If you have police tape or caution tape, just bring it in the park with you.
Do not listen to him. He is not a travel agent. He is going to get you kicked out of the park. Please do not do that.
This message is not approved by Amanda.
Exactly. Definitely not.
That brings up a good point. Like, so your knowledge you're telling us is you've been to the parks a lot and you've got a lot of great tips, but does Disney provide any information to you? Is there any training program or anything that you've been through?
Yes, we have what's called the Disney College of Knowledge. And to get into that, you actually have to be working with a travel agency, or if you have your own travel agency, you can go through them as well. But it's not something that just anybody can go and sign up for. It is free. If you are with a travel agency, then you get to do this program for free. And so it talks about those 5 different Disney reservations we can do: the Alani, Disney World, Disneyland, Adventures by Disney, and the Disney Cruise Line. So in each year, we have to go through and update our training. And anytime anything new comes out, we have to do training on that as well. So like the Galactic Star Cruiser, there's training on that. So yes, we do have training, and you definitely want to use somebody who has the Disney College of Knowledge as your travel agent because they've done the training. And a lot goes into planning a trip besides just knowing that, though. I mean, that's going to give you just the basics. All that stuff, it's stuff I pretty much knew from going to the parks, from going on Disney Cruise, things like that. It's stuff I already know. But a lot of travel agents will sell Disney because they have somebody who asked about it. You don't necessarily want somebody who just is doing it because somebody asked about it. You want somebody who knows it.
That's an awesome point too, and which is why I feel like sometimes I kind of want to become a Disney travel agent, just because I love the parks so much and I love helping people do their vacations. I get questions like that all the time, and I'm sure every Disney adult who just loves Disney and loves the parks gets those questions all the time from their friends. But that's awesome. And that's great to hear too, that like you have this knowledge from experience. Like you've been to all of these amazing places and you have this knowledge from going and doing it. And so that's awesome. I did want to ask about some of your overseas adventures. And I guess kind of like let us know like the places that you have been. And I mean, I guess talk about Tokyo Disney Sea for a little bit, because I just hear some amazing things about that place.
Tokyo Disney Sea is really amazing. The way the park is laid out, it's beautiful. And I wish they would actually take some of those elements from there and bring them to the US, because it's the most beautiful park, I think, that there is, at least out of the ones I've been to. I haven't been to Paris yet, and I haven't been to Shanghai. So, but I do think Tokyo Disney Sea is one of the nicest parks. Have you traveled to Japan at all before?
I have not. I have done very little international travel. So
Okay. Japan is different to me. They are very nice in Japan, but they're not bubbly warm like you think of when you go to Disney World. I mean, to me, Disney World cast members are very, very nice and warm, and you just want to be friends with all of them, right? And in Japan, it's a little different. They're very nice, they're very respectful, but you won't get that warm, over the top like you do at Disney World. So that to me, as a first time being in another country and at Disney in another country, was a little, it took me back a little bit. I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it to be like Disney World and Disneyland for that matter, where they're really warm and friendly. And once you know more about Japan, and I lived there when I went. So if I would have gone, I think towards the end of my time living there, I would have felt differently. But it was like, I'd been there for like 2 weeks and I went. So it was still a culture shock for me. But it is beautiful. And they have different rides and it's just really fun. But keep in mind, a lot of it is in Japanese and not in English. So it's kind of hard to understand.
see now those tips, Jared, you're completely correct. That tip alone was awesome. Just kind of like and that's not even like okay, go left when you get here in the park type tip. Right. That was like a you're gonna feel this
pretty
way.
in depth.
Right. So that's awesome. And just having that kind of knowledge and having somebody that will be able to prepare you for a trip like that, that's awesome. Now I want you to plan a trip to Tokyo Disney Sea for me.
Yeah, anytime. Let's go. Can I go with you?
Oh, right.
We'll just make it a 2 podcast trip, and we'll all go together.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll just pool all of our funds together.
Exactly.
Sounds good. Let's make this
making
happen.
All that podcast money.
Exactly. Yeah, and to me, Hong Kong Disneyland, because I've been to that one too. I loved Hong Kong Disneyland. It's very small, so like it's hard to explain. It feels smaller than even like Animal Kingdom. Like it's very small and intimate. But they do have almost everything is in English. And so they may have an English showing and then they'll have it in Cantonese and then they'll have it in Mandarin. So it's kind of nice that you can actually understand what's going on in some of the shows. But it was not crowded at all. So we walked on everything, which has been a really long time since you've been able to do that at Walt Disney World. So that was really nice. And they also had that warm, bubbly feeling that you get like at Walt Disney World. And so that was refreshing.
And I believe
that's awesome.
I believe that, just like some history on that, that's one of the smallest Disneyland parks, and it was kind of built that way. Like it was built with like kind of like being a little bit smaller in mind. I believe they just kind of like pointed at some like land by the coast and they were like, we're going to put it there. And then like ended up repurposing land and like putting it in there. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the way that park is set up is really nice too, because behind the castle, you see the mountains behind the castle, and it is fantastic. So definitely worth a trip.
I believe that's the park that has a lot of exclusivity too. They wanted everything to be original. And they just redid their castle too, didn't they?
They did. They doubled the size of it, I believe. It was a little bit bigger, I believe, before than Disneyland's castle, but now it is huge. So yeah, now I need to go see it again.
We'll just make a big old trip of it. We'll hit Shanghai, Hong Kong, Tokyo.
Yes. Actually, my husband and I are talking about that already. That is our plan, to go and travel around that area again. We lived in Okinawa for 3 years and absolutely loved it. So we plan to stop there too. So if anybody wants to go, just let me know.
And is that something that just kind of like hearing about your background, and this is kind of like a bigger question. Is that something that kind of drew you towards travel agency, where like you've just been so many different places, or was it your love of Disney that like you wanted to like do Disney exclusively because you had that love for it?
Kind of both.
Nice.
My husband was in the military, so we did travel around quite a bit, and we moved a lot. I've lived in Alaska, Okinawa, New Zealand,
all the best places,
Florida.
Apparently.
Yes, exactly. Well, maybe not Alaska, but that's beside the point. So traveling around, I really enjoyed it. And when I lived in New Zealand, I started listening to a podcast, and they were talking about how this travel agency, Capture the Magic Vacations, was looking for travel agents. And I was like, huh, that's something I can do. They're all at home. Maybe I could do that here. And unfortunately, like I applied and everything, and they were like, well, we can't hire anybody that's overseas. So if you ever move back to the US, then let us know. So as soon as I moved back, I sent them a message and I was like, hey, I'm back in the US. And they were like, can we interview you? Sure, you can. And I got hired like the same day. Like at the end of the conversation, they're like, oh, so would you like to work for us?
Wow.
Yes. It was awesome. But being a military spouse, we traveled a lot. Whenever we moved somewhere, we wanted to explore and see the country and see what it was all about and really experience things. So while we were in Okinawa, we went to New Zealand the first time, actually. We went to Hong Kong and mainland Japan and Beijing briefly, just on a plane, but still we went there, Thailand, all over the place. So being there and experiencing it, I thought I had something to offer other people. So here
That's
I am.
quite a unique approach to it, I think, that you have there that you can offer people. That's quite a unique perspective. But I think that really brings it around to what can we do when we're looking for a travel agent? How do we find the travel agent that we want to work with?
So I think there are lots of travel agents, and there are lots of travel agents that specialize in Disney. So if you go into any of the Disney groups in Facebook, you're probably going to see a whole bunch of people say, hey, I'm a Disney travel agent. Just be sure that you know what you're getting into, because first of all, we're not allowed to say we're Disney travel agents. We specialize in Disney. So that's something to think about. If they're saying they're a Disney travel agent, either they're usually brand new or they work for a MLM, and you definitely don't want to hire an MLM, I would think. Usually they're just interested in getting other travel agents under them and not necessarily focusing on training in your experience. So my advice would be to kind of stay away from them. That's not true for everybody that works for an MLM, but it seems to be the common theme there. So just be careful with that, but interview them, talk to who you're looking at. And you may want to talk to a couple of people and see what they're going to offer you. Make sure that the person you use is going to offer what you're looking for. There are some travel agents who won't book your dining, that they will only go in and they will book your reservation and then they're done. So make sure that the one you're working with, you get along with them, that you mesh well, that you can get excited together about your trip, because your travel agent should be your biggest cheerleader. And if you have a question about something, they should be willing to say, hey, oh, yes, you got to do this, you need to do that, and help you along the way. Make sure if you want somebody who's going to be available when you go on your trip, that you ask them that, because some travel agents, once you're on your trip, you're like, I can't do anything. You're on your own. But for me personally, I don't do that. I mean, there's stuff that I can't do once you're there. Anything with your reservation, your room, I can't really do anything about that. But if you have a question about where something is or what you should do in certain circumstance or things like that, please ask me. I would rather you ask me than you have a bad trip. You're paying a lot of money for this, and I want you to enjoy yourself.
One thing that I'll add on top of that, just being from the outside and not being a travel agent, but using Amanda as a travel agent specifically, ask them if they have any reviews. And if they have reviews, then ask them to send you some. And obviously, they're going to pick the better ones, but you'll be able to get a good idea. If they have a website or they have, something that you can look at that has the reviews on there, a lot of them will have reviews like on Facebook and, social media sites and stuff like that. Just thumb through them real quick, see what people have to say about that particular travel agent.
And just because somebody loved a travel agent doesn't mean that you're going to love them.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. I would definitely interview them, see if you mesh. Something else you can look for is if the travel agent works for an agency that's earmarked. The earmarked agencies, they've been invited by Disney. Now it's basically based on the number of vacations, Disney vacations, the agency as a whole have sold. But it also means that they have experience. So even if that specific agent doesn't, that agency does. So they have other people that they can ask. That doesn't mean that agencies that aren't earmarked aren't good too, but it is something that can help you point you in the right direction.
Those are some great tips. I think that's definitely something people need to use when looking. I didn't know that. I wanted to back up a little bit. You mentioned MLM. I'm not familiar with that term.
Multi-level marketing. So think LuLaRoe and I don't know, Pampered Chef, that type.
Oh, pyramid
company.
schemes.
Yeah, pyramid
Yes.
schemes. We're not calling them pyramid schemes, but they're pyramid schemes.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so they still have the training available to them, but most of them, I can't even say most of them, a lot of them don't necessarily care about that. They just care about getting people underneath them so that they make more money. So.
Cool. Well, that was a lot of stuff. Just really great information. And I feel like our listeners are going to be able to hear that and make a pretty decent decision on what they need to do with their travel agents.
Yeah. Now, something else, one more thing to keep in mind, even if you've been to Disney a lot of times, if you haven't been recently, then it's basically like you haven't been to Disney. Over spring break, I noticed so many people in Disney groups saying, I didn't know I had to make a park reservation. I went all the way to Disney and I can't even get in. And they're so mad. And it's like just a little bit of research and you could have found that. But if you had hired a travel agent, you would know that because they're going to tell you. And if they didn't tell you, then you do not have a good travel agent. But you won't run into things like that. At least for me, I can at least speak for myself. I mean, I'm in all those Disney groups. I keep up with that. I follow Disney. I follow all of that stuff. And that's what I do pretty much all day long is follow all this stuff. So I want to know everything that's going on so that I can pass it along to my clients.
Amanda, why don't you tell them the story about the clients that you had that were like, oh, hey, we want you to plan our trip. By the way, we're on our way to Disney.
Oh, yeah. That was before the pandemic, so we didn't have to worry about park reservations, but it was actually a friend of a friend. And they were like, oh, I have this client of this people that are going to Disney for their honeymoon. It's like, oh, really? Okay, well, give me their information. Oh, by the way, they're on their way right now. What? Yeah, they're driving from Texas to Florida right now. I'm gonna have them call you. Okay. So, planned their trip on their way. They ended up staying at the Grand Floridian. They had a fabulous time, had park hoppers, even got them reservations at Ohana. And you know how hard those are to get. And the first time at Ohana, it didn't quite work for them. So we ended up switching it a couple of times, like while they were at the park. And that's something else I do too. Even if you already have reservations, if a better time comes available for you, I can switch them around. Or if a place you really wanted to go, but you settled for your second choice, I keep watching for those too. So that's something else to ask your travel agent that you're going to work with if they'll do that.
What about discounts? Since you said that, what about discounts? Do you grab those as they come up and
Yes.
help people get them?
I do. So if you book with me and I see that something comes available, as an example, I had clients who are going for in August, and the Disney Plus offer came along. And I was like, hey, do you have a Disney Plus account? No. Oh, well, if you go in and make your Disney Plus account, then you'll save this much money. And they're like, okay. So they did that. I got the discount applied, and now they saved a whole bunch of money on their trip.
When I saw that
Switching
come
to
up
Disney
last
Plus.
week, yeah, like when I saw that come up last week, I was thinking about the travel agents. Like, you're gonna have to like ask for so much more information now because, like, I wasn't even thinking about that. I don't know if you were given a heads up on it or anything.
No.
But,
nope.
yeah.
You wake up that morning and they're like, oh, this new promotion dropped. Okay, let me go see who I have going, and it's kind of a scramble, try to get them. And the thing about those discounts is there are usually not a whole bunch of rooms that they're going to give you with those. So just because something drops does not mean I'm guaranteed to get it. I will do my best. I will, as soon as I wake up and see that it's available, I will start working on those immediately, but that doesn't mean that I'm guaranteed to get one. Everybody else's travel agents try to get them too. But I do watch for them.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys again for coming on the show, Jared and Amanda, for talking about your business and talking about all of the amazing things you can do for people with your travel agency. Why don't you guys go ahead and plug your podcast real quick for people?
Yeah, sure. Our podcast is The Three Mouseketeers, and you can find us on social media at T3M Podcast. That's T, the number 3M Podcast, and that's on everything. All social media platforms, just search that and you'll find us.
Awesome. And some really great stuff on there too. I very much enjoy it. Brian, why don't you go ahead and plug our podcast?
Yeah, right. So yeah, guys, as we've talked about, let us know on the social media you choose. We have all that information in the show notes that you'll be able to find, and check out the new website, www.milesfrommaineST.com, and you'll find all of our episodes there, and you'll also find some news articles, bios, and affiliate links. So go on and get some coffee or maybe some groceries with Instacart and help us out at the same time. We'd really appreciate that help. And also the biggest way you can help is going out to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or even Facebook and leave us a rating and review. Be sure you hit that subscribe button, and you can find links to all that stuff in the show notes.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got for you guys tonight. And as we say, some live close,
but others don't.
So let's talk about it. We'll see you guys next time on Miles from Main Street.